everybody. Welcome. It is Thursday, June 30th, 2016. I'm Andrew Haley, and welcome to our 8th episode of Wirecast Live. We are a little excited today, as you might guess. We are very happy to announce that Wirecast 7 has officially hit the shelves. You can pick up a copy today. It just launched yesterday. You should all be aware of this. I hope you noticed the new logo to my right, and just how exciting that all is for us. We think this is the best version of Wirecast that has ever been released. So we hope you like it as much as we do. There are a lot of changes, obviously. If you've been a long-time Wirecast user, you're going to have to get familiar with some of the ways that we have changed things, hopefully for the better. There may be even a couple things that you're going to get used to and adjust to as we go forward, ways of working with clips and things like that. So a lot coming down the road, and hopefully this, just stay tuned here every week. We're going to be talking about Wirecast 7 and the new features for a while, for a couple weeks at least, because there's just not enough time to go over all the changes in just a live Facebook show like this. But that being said, I will do my best to guide you through this product release, and we will learn together as we go forward. There's no way that one person can know all of the implications that a new product like this can have, because you users and customers will use it in so many different ways that it's almost impossible to anticipate every one of them. So I'm sure that you're going to find things that we didn't know about or anticipate, and vice versa. And so I have played around with it quite a bit over the last few months, but I'm not by any means, I wouldn't call myself an expert. As you probably know, all these things, you learn software as you go along. It's a learning process, and you'll change the way you work things and the way your workflow goes. So, but that being said, there's so many new features in this that I think that just scratching the surface on what it can do is going to be a challenge in itself. So I hope you enjoy all this, and we will do our best to guide you through that. The first place I want to show you that you can go. Oh, and before I forget, I want to mention that we're actually doing a full hour-long live webinar coming up next week. I'm sorry, in 2 weeks for the release. So we're gonna cover everything that is that we can get into that format, and it's going to be more in depth, and we'll have more time to go over other features that we may not have time to talk about today. But between the webinar, which I encourage you to sign up for, that is in the events section of our website at telestream.net/Wirecast. If you go to events, you should be able to find any upcoming webinars, and that's a little bit of a different format, a little more formal, and we talk a little bit more at length. So there it is right there. Thanks, Deborah Lee, for throwing that on screen. It's Thursday, July 14th, in about 2 weeks, and we will go dive deep into Wirecast 7 and a lot of the new features. Of course, you'll see things in that we're going to cover today and maybe in next week's broadcast, but it's a great another resource for you. So go sign up for that if you haven't. I think it might be worth your time if you can't catch all these live broadcasts. And another great place to learn what's new in Wirecast 7. So leave a comment if you have a question. Says it's chugging in LA. Wes, good to see you on here, man. Too bad. I'm sorry about that. I hope everybody's having a good experience with the broadcast right now. It looks like mine got interrupted too. That's weird. How's our bandwidth situation here? Okay. Looks like it's back here for me at least, so that's good. I'm going to kill that audio right there. Okay, well, keep us posted, Wes. Hopefully that is still going. We are recording this, so hopefully you'll be able to catch anything you missed. And actually, if you haven't hit record on the recorder outside there too, let's grab that so we have a full copy as well. All right. All right, so Wes, and everybody else, if you do have a comment or question, leave them here. I'll try to cover things. Again, like I said, we're not going to have time to go over everything, but at least we'll be able to touch some of the top features, and you can go find out where you can go to learn more. Let's start with our website and the best place to learn what's new and what's changed. So the first place to check for that is to go to our what's new section of our website. So you can see here, I've got it. I'm going to just minimize that so you can focus on that. Go to telestream.net slash wirecast slash what's dash new.htm, or you can just click on the what's new banner link right here. And that's going to take you to this page. And from here, you can see basically what we think are the top most important changes. The first thing, and I can't really demonstrate this, but I can show you a few things about this, is our GPU accelerated encoding and our lower CPU usage, basically a huge boost in performance. We're seeing, Wirecast 7 with the lowest statistics and lowest output for the best quality of any version so far. So huge gains in performance and improvement. So it's going to put a lower stress on your system. It's going to get you the same results for a lot less work. And you should be able to then use that extra resources on your computer and that extra processing power to do more with your broadcast. So you can push things up a notch or add some complicated elements you may not have been able to do before. So take advantage of the performance gains and the low overhead that this version is going to take on your machine. Next, you'll also notice there's some tools for monitoring, and I'll go into that. But basically, not only do we give you better performance, we give you better tools to monitor that performance and keep track of it. So that is how you can see how you're doing, and from everything from a graphical layout of your frame rates to your bit rates, your CPU and memory usage, and so forth. So great new tool there in the performance monitor. Moving on down this list, you'll find there's other changes. This is probably, I think, the biggest workflow change of the, and I'll just full screen this here. The dynamic editor. This is probably the biggest structural change to the way you'll probably work in Wirecast. So I think we're going to talk about that most today because it probably has the most implications for the way you've used Wirecast up till this point. So basically, we've taken the shot editor and we've taken it from being a separate standalone window where you did all that editing, and we've brought it into the user interface in just a flyout panel on the left of the interface. So you'll see that and how it's changed, and I really like it. It's a great, it's a lot more convenient to access, but there are a few changes, and even a few things that we're aware of will probably change a little bit going forward. When you make a change this big, there are, we'll be working out some of the workflow changes as we go. So let us know feedback on that, how you're liking it, and please play around with it and see what you like. But I think overall, it's a very nice, new, slick way to edit the properties of shots, and you're going to be able to use the preview window for more layout stuff than you ever were before. Up till now, you weren't able to drag anything in the preview side of your user interface. You had to open the separate shot editor and do everything in there and just kind of keep an eye on the preview space. So let's talk about that. Next up, I'd like to cover, these are the output statistics, which we mentioned. This is the graphical output. We've also added video delay and video sync. This is huge. So you can now sync up sources. You couldn't do that before because, you could, but you could only delay audio. We only had an audio buffer delay where if you had audio trailing behind video, you have multiple cameras, or let's say you're using a mixing board with a nice microphone, like this Countryman Isomax microphone, and it's going into a nice mixer, and you bring that in, but then your cameras are all, say, iPhones, and you're using iPhones. You want a good audio, but you want to use the iPhones for mobility and wireless. Well, those iPhones are going to be great for mobility, but they're a little delayed, and so the audio is probably going to run in and ahead of those iPhones. And so in that case, you could, if you had Wirecast Pro 6, you could add a delay to the audio to kind of bring that back to match up with your iPhone signals, so the voice matched the image in the final broadcast. No problem there, right? But we didn't have any way to slow down video. Often, if you are doing stuff to the audio before it arrives, if you're in a radio station running a compression system, or noise gates, or compressors on the voice, doing any processing of the audio signals, all of that's going to slow down the real-time mix of the audio. So sometimes video would get to the computer first, or get to Wirecast first, and then the audio would come in. And those people we had no solution for because we couldn't delay video. That's changed now. Now you can delay video. Not only that, this feature is available video and audio delay is available in Wirecast Studio. So it's, before you needed the Pro version, now you just need Wirecast Studio, and you've got you know the type of technology that would cost you thousands of dollars in hardware before. So huge, huge feature and a great value. And now you can do whatever you need. If the video's coming in ahead, you can slow it down. If the audio's coming in ahead, you can kind of mix and match and put delays on sources. So great feature there, particularly for multiple media productions, input productions. Global Hotkey Manager, super cool. I actually even haven't had a ton of time to play with this yet, so I probably won't show this today. I want to play with it a little more before we talk about it, but it's in the preferences, and you can now assign keys to anything in Wirecast to, so you have your own hotkey system the way you like it. So really neat feature there, and should be a ton of saving time. We had hotkeys, but now this is expanded to rather than just a few, you can set your own, which is really neat. Audio mixing is now available in Studio and Pro. So you've got a redesigned, completely new from the ground up audio mixer that looks amazing and allows you to do a ton. Again, this was only available to Pro users, and it didn't look like this. It wasn't designed like this. It's been built back up from the ground up. Eventually, we'll roll more professional style features into the Pro version of this, but at least now you have access to it in both, which is really cool. Very, very exciting and big fix. So I'm just going to run through these, but we won't have time to actually see all of them today. If that's okay with you guys, let me know. In fact, let me pull up the questions and comments here. Working good? Okay. Better sound. Okay, so we're having a few problems. Extreme good, clipping horribly, better. Okay, interesting. Everything seems to be getting better. Okay, so far it's just quality. So I don't know if that's on our end or if that's on Facebook's end. We're gonna need to check that out. But again, we will post this right after the this broadcast. We'll upload it to our YouTube page, which you can find at Wirecast Tube, and we will also post a recorded version, at least a better version of it, if this ends up being in the recording version on Facebook, then we will put it in. We'll re-upload it, so you have a full quality version on Facebook as well. So Wirecast Tube on YouTube, or check back here in a few hours for a better version of it. And our recording is hopefully holding steady. How's our CPU usage? All right, we're good. We're totally good. We have a beast of a machine here, so we shouldn't be having any problems as far as the system having problems. I think it's all bandwidth related, so no big deal there. And hopefully, again, you guys are seeing and hearing this in full quality, because that would be kind of a bummer if you weren't able to hear about all this stuff right now. Okay, next up, ISO recording. Another huge feature. This is a Pro feature only that we've added. I would say I think it's the only Pro feature that is added to this version. So everything else that I've talked about is in both. The ISO recording we've reserved exclusively for Wirecast Pro users. What is ISO recording, you ask? Well, it's really neat. It allows you to record an individual copy, a ProRes file or a motion JPEG file on Windows of any live source from any live capture device added to your computer. So you can now select any camera that you have attached. It's not going to work for things like web streams. It's not going to work for IP streams, and it's not going to work for Wirecast Cam. But it's going to work for any professional cameras attached real time to the computer and through a capture card or interface. And then you can tell Wirecast to record it in its own separate file for archival purposes, for high quality, clean versions without any of the graphics or any of this. My camera would be full 1080 in its own file while we were broadcasting if we're ISO recording this. So I could have a full quality capture of myself and put that and use that in editing later for clean versions. So that's a big deal. 4K is not in this version, Kareem. That's a great question. We're just not seeing. You can use 4K capture devices, 4K cards. We're testing those, and so those should be able to work with 4K cameras. And Wirecast should be able to see 4K sizes, I believe, because the canvas size is customizable. But It's not going to stream in 4K. And it's only streaming up to 1920 and 1080. We just don't see people having the bandwidth or even the processing power to encode a 4K video signal right now. So I think 4K is coming, eventually once the hardware catches up and the bandwidth catches up. But for now, Wirecast, its bread and butter is in the high definition streaming. But that shouldn't stop you from using 4K cameras or 4K capture cards because those are great, and they've kind of figured out that end of things really well, and those should work with Wirecast, and that can give you advantages for being able to zoom into shots and reframe shots for HD streaming that you wouldn't have if your camera is full frame HD. So take advantage of that. Will ISO recording be added to Wirecast cam and sources later? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'll talk to the product team and have an answer for that. Um, but for now, I know in Wirecast 7's release, this is just for capture cards and live devices. So if your webcam would be considered one of those, any of the physically live cameras. I think when it comes to compressed signals and IP streams and IP signals, those get a little trickier when it comes to ISO. I'll check back on that and give you more information on that later. Hopefully we can get it on anything. Any face masking feature or tracking for tracking point for chroma key. Nothing like that has been added to Wirecast 7 yet. So no, we haven't done any facial recognition stuff yet or anything like that. What else have we got? Questions here. Do you want to throw these on screen so people can track as I'm answering these? So I see Sandy, you asked, are there any new features for text or lower thirds? So I'm just going to jump into questions now because you guys clearly have questions, and then I can kind of do some demo stuff too. Any new features for adding lower text or lower thirds? Yes. So let me talk about that right here, and I'm going to put it right above my head so you can see. But I would go to the website, check this out. With Wirecast 7, you get a free copy of New Blue's Live Titler Express. So that is amazing. So we basically worked out a deal with New Blue so you can all get free 3D animated titles, totally GPU accelerated, totally under your control. They, I think, include a pack of 60 templates of lower thirds, animations, and animated bugs that you can throw on screen. So you have access to their library, which instantly gives you ups your production power, and it's totally free to you if you buy a copy of Wirecast 7. So or upgrade to Wirecast 7. So I highly recommend that. That alone is another reason just to get Wirecast 7 because you're going to get a free copy of New Blue's software. There are upgrades available. They have a whole different set of products, and you can find the link here on our site. It'll take you to the New Blue page where you can see all the different versions. But this one on the left here is normally $99. It's included or bundled with Wirecast 7. You would just, you'll buy Wirecast 7 or upgrade, and then you get a link in the email. You'll also get a link for your New Blue Titler Express, and they'll send you a license and everything. You can install it, and it's really cool how it works. We even have installation and activation videos showing you how to install Live Titler in our resources section and how to use it. And then there's a great webinar that I did with Travis White from New Blue that shows you how it works. That was with Wirecast 6. We'll do another one for Wirecast 7, but definitely hop on this. This is a really good way to get your titles. Other than that, we haven't greatly increased our inner library of Wirecast titles. They're still in there. You still have access to all the ones that we have in the program, but you're going to get more control with the New Blue stuff if you eventually go that way. They're more professional graphics titling house, and so we partnered with them to do the heavy lifting if you really need some serious firepower when it comes to your titles. But that being said, we did add a lot of new stuff in 7 as far as other things you can do with text. So we've actually widgetized text. You can now move text boxes around individually with wireframes. You'll see them. You can, there is a whole live text feature, which is different from titles, but basically you can now do scrolls and crawls. Scrolls and crawls across the bottom of the screen or top, and you can make live changes, and that text will update live automatically. So there's this whole new text tool in Wirecast 7 that was never there before. So in addition to all the titles that we had before, you now have this live text, live type tool. You can even bring in RSS feeds into it. So it's really cool. So if you want to keep like an updated news thing at the bottom, or the latest information popped into your crawls or your scrolls, you can do that in Wirecast 7. So that's a big deal. So yeah. So basically, to answer your question, Sandy, there's a lot of new versions. Yes, it's free in both versions. New Blue animated title, uh, New Blue Live Tyler Express is free for studio owners and pro owners, so you don't have to pick a version there. Man, there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? So you guys have a whole bunch of questions. I'm super excited to answer these for you. So just keep them coming, and we can keep talking about it. And then maybe I'll dive in a little bit and show you some of the interface. All right. So Sandy, we hopefully that gets you your questions answered as far as the lower thirds and titling and all that good stuff. Um, what about more sources for replay? So replay and ISO are now linked together in a lot of ways. So if you're a pro user and you want ISO and you want replay, you can do both. You can ISO a source, or you can actually prep that ISO source for replay or using in your replay. So now you can kind of focus on a single camera that replay before was just your program feed, so you actually couldn't keep track on like a camera B if camera A was in the live window. You just got a replay of camera A, but now you can set a replay on camera B and still have camera A in the live window, and be able to use that as your replay source. So you can have off screen replay sources, which is really neat and awesome for um, pro users. Now, that being said, this all stuff, the replay and the ISO and all that, take a lot of space. I mean, they use high quality, high compression or low compression formats that will take up a lot of room, like ProRes and Motion JPEG can take up gigs and gigs and gigs. So use the settings accordingly. But and then obviously you need to have the type of processor that can handle that many recordings going on, and even the type of hard drive that can take that much recording. So if you're ISOing and replaying more than one source and switching and doing all that, then you're really going to want quite a powerful machine and to do your testing. Alrighty. So Kareem, I hope that answers your question. Can you use 3-4 cameras as sources in the replay option? Again, that's going to be subject to your computer's ability to do that, and you'd need I would say most computers, 3 to 4 sources is going to be a lot for them, especially if they're all in 1080. So download 7, test it, see how your computer's handling just one webcam. What is the timeline for NDI in Wirecast 7? Great question. I would, don't hold me to this, but I'm hoping by the end of the year. And maybe sooner, who knows? But I'm gonna say pretty confidently by the end of the year. But again, you never know with this stuff. I do know it's on our roadmap, and we're definitely interested in working on it. So good question, Bert. Can you change fonts? Yes, you can change fonts. Your system fonts are accessible to you in Wirecast 7. And in New Blue, I believe they have system fonts accessible. They may even have custom fonts. I'm not sure. You should contact New Blue if you have questions about how they work with fonts. Sandy, no problem. Awesome. Edinburgh, Scotland. That's my ancestors' homeland, or at least that's what I'm told. So good to have you joining us from across the pond. Let's see. So you just this one's from Denise. We just purchased a Wirecast 6 from our church, 30 days. Is there an upgrade option without purchasing? So if you purchase within the last 30 days, Denise, please contact our sales team. I believe you get a complimentary upgrade. because we don't want to punish you for recently purchasing. If you're outside that 30-day window, I'm not sure there's an option for you there, but check with them. They may be able to assist you. Rob, good to see you on here. We're hoping the MacBook Pro 15-inch will be updated soon. Yes, we all are hoping that. That would be nice to get some more firepower in that. It's a really great tool, but it's been kind of about the same level of processing power for the last. Now, that being said, I mentioned, right at the top item we have here is improved performance. So what does that mean? That means on a Mac, you should be able to free up more resources now and get a lower encode rate using GPU accelerated encoding. So if you, Apple's have Intel GPU chips on them, some of them have NVIDIA uh, graphics cards. And so Wirecast can use Intel's QuickSync hardware encoding or NVIDIA's NVENC hardware encoding, and basically use the chip on those cards to reduce the amount of processing power. So uh, the nice thing about Wirecast 7 is you actually will get more life out of an older computer with these hardware chips on them. So take advantage of that, and then you can free up what you've got left over for things like more titling with New Blue, or just more animated graphics and things like that, or ISO recording and replay. Yeah. Juan, ISO recording gives the possibility of recording different input sources. It does. It gives the possibility of recording different input sources. So any camera that you have connected to Wirecast is available as an ISO, as a potential ISO source, and can be recorded into its own file or replay file. And then you can use that in your productions while still switching on and off between the camera and just doing your normal Wirecast workflow. Okay, so Manny, looks like your comment was cut off. Is there a reason why when you check, and then it just cuts off? So I don't know what the rest of your question is there, but type the rest of that in there and we'll get to it. Okay, so let's pause on questions while you do that, Manny, and then let's look at Wirecast. So let's go back to my desktop and we'll just take a pause here and talk about the interface and what's changed. So the first thing that you'll notice is that the interface is relatively the same. There's definitely been some changes, but it's not overwhelming. It's very similar to 6 and 5 before that. Now, up here, you'll notice we've changed the stream and record icons. So they're just cleaner, they look better. And then even here, since I have a Pro version, I have access to this button, which is the ISO record button, which is a separate type of recording. But so we add it there. You might want to turn that on when needed if you're a Pro user. But that's kind of the changes there. Up here, you'll find these 3 buttons, which are really just layout buttons. So now, instead of having to go up to the menu bar to turn on or off your preview window, or on or off your live window, or have both up, you now have just these 3 quick access buttons. And they're marked by the red and green, which you should be familiar with because red is always live in Wirecast and green is always preview. So that has just been this, the way we've done things. So I'm going to just show you what that's like. Obviously, we're in the 2-up display right now, but we could click on just a preview window view, or just a record view, or just a 2-up display. Even better than this, you can now resize one over the other and choose the size that you want. So, if you want to go, the way that back to normal, then you can basically resize it however you like. You make the live window as large as you want or as small as you want, and same with the preview window. Other than that, there's not too much changes. You'll still see the transition panels the same. We've added the the preview audio and live audio. All that's the same. And then on the right, right behind me here, the this is all the same. So nothing's changed there. But there is, for those of you who are looking closely, there is a big change. You can see, or a subtle change here. This guy. What is this? This is new. Well, this is where we've tucked the new shot editor. So just clicking this expands the shot. If you have a shot here, and say we add um, a media file of some kind, we could add I actually realized we just set up this demo machine, and I'm used to having my FaceTime camera right here connected to my laptop because I use my laptop, but I don't have a webcam because we're using a new demo machine. It's a Mac Mini. So I don't have a webcam just handy that I can use for this. But what I will do, so I'll make sure I have that for the next broadcast. But why don't I just add just a movie file? We'll go to this, and I should talk about this actually. You'll notice that this has changed. We no longer have the 4-up display on how you add camera shots. So or media shots. You no longer have to get subdivided into those categories. At first, I was like, I don't know. I kind of liked being able to choose, image or live capture or so forth. But the more I use this, the more I realize, no, actually, I think I like it this way. It's really straightforward. It's got a great it's not too long of a list. You have everything you need, and you can quickly grab the one that you want. And then capture devices, like if I had a webcam plugged in, it would appear here. If I had a capture card plugged in, again, just an oversight. I'm a little bit spacey with the release this week. It's been a little crazy, so apologize. But I will have my stuff together by next week's broadcast and in time for our live webinar on all that's new. But for today, if you want to just find any of those live devices, you can find those here. And then going down the list, you'll find we have screen capture, which is the new desktop presenter, local desktop presenter. You still have desktop presenter, but it's now qualified into its own category, remote desktop presenter. Screen capture is really what we're doing locally. We renamed that so it would be clear, and we've improved it as well. So screen capture, if you want to do any kind of screen capture, I could bring in a quick screen capture too if we want to do that. WebStream, that's the same. That's as it was in Wirecast 6 Pro. This is for anyone who's trying to capture IP cameras or streams from the internet that you have access to. Wirecast Cam, solid color. This is a new feature and a new source. Why don't I just show you that real fast? You click on it. You can now bring in a solid color background. By default, it's blue, and that's the size, but you can set your own size. We could do 1920 by 1080 and change the color to, say, white. Hit OK. And then this is the new shot. And if we double click that, you'll see we've got this source here, which is just a white background, which is great. You no longer have to find a white picture on your hard drive anywhere. You can just generate one in Wirecast 7. You have color generation or a color generator. So that's awesome. And then let's just keep going down that list. We'll come back to this. What else do we have? We have solid color. We have text. So this is very important, and I think these are some of the things that I really need to stress as this release goes forward. There are, subtle differences here. So you'll get used to this, but text is now different from titles. They're not the same. Titles are what you added before, and all this is different from NewBlue. So if you have NewBlue installed on the machine, which again, another oversight, just set up this demo machine, so apologize. NewBlue will also show up on this list if you have installed, but the titles are just our previous versions of our previous titles, our previous library, all that. Text is what I was talking about with the live type, live text, live crawls and scrolls, RSS feeds, and so forth. So again, I'm just not going to have time to cover this today, but we'll get into it. Don't worry. Next up, you have scoreboards. That's a pro-only version. Scoreboards haven't really changed much, but they're there. Web display. This is a new one as well, and it's coming from our game show development, where we found that you may want to have a HTML widget or HTML clip or cut to display on screen. And I'll get into that more as well, but I can't get into it right now. But you could be like an image carousel or something like that. It's actually pretty handy. Media file. This is all you need to click on if you're adding a movie file like I was going to do, or a movie clip, or an image, or an MP3. So we've made it simple again. We're not trying to like force you to pick just a movie or just an image or just an MP3. And if you click the wrong one, you got to go back out and go back in and click the right category. Now, media files are media files. You need to find the one that you want, keep them organized on your computer, and this will save you time in Wirecast. And then the new virtual sets, which is, or the virtual set, which is basically a pro feature. Virtual sets haven't changed in Wirecast 7. They are the same virtual sets that come standard with Wirecast Pro, but there is the ability to add additional virtual sets through Virtual Set Works, which is a great 3D creator of Virtual Set Works and another partner that we work with. So you can expand your options with that. You can find more about that on the website. Okay, and then of course you still have new shot and new playlists if you want to add just a blank shot. So let's add that media file that I've been talking about. And I'm going to scroll out here and go to add the art of flight here. And there we go. So I've got this clip here that is that's added, and you'll find that just clicking between these two sources will change how the preview window displays that information. So for the solid color, because it's not a clip, it doesn't have any times associated with it, you don't see the play bar. But if you click on anything with a play duration or a set time limit, then you'll see this play bar and you can scroll around the clip and you can add, you can zoom, and all that stuff shouldn't have changed. You can also set the playback speed. That's all stuff that was in Wirecast 6. But just noticing how that changes. Now, what you'll also notice up here is as I change the sources, the name of the source is changing. So the shot editor is updating with whatever shot I have currently selected. And this also tells you how many sources and so forth are in the shot. So let's start with my solid color here. And I've kind of been moving around, and I made it 1920 by 1080. So it really needs to be centered to be exactly, so there's no borders on any side. I don't have like a little black line on the right or left if I don't perfectly position it. But this is cool. So let's show you how that works. So before in Wirecast 6, you in the shot editor would click on the configure visual properties or configure visual elements and then change something about it. These tabs are now easily sorted into the different settings. So the shot layer properties is what we call this tab now. It's not the configure visual effects or anything like that. And you'll notice this is really cool. We have, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see, we now have actual decimal values for the or integer values for the position and the scale and all of that. So you're not eyeballing it anymore. You can exactly recreate the position, the size, and the setting between shots. So if you always have something in this position at this size, you can now easily know exactly what that position was and exactly what size it was. So you can reproduce or recreate things in between different projects or as needed. You're not just eyeballing it anymore. So these sliders are super critical. So we can actually just jump in here and make it 100% scale. We can also reset the position to be what it's supposed to be, which is, I believe, the center position 0, 0. And now, just by tapping enter on my keyboard, this guy is back to where we know he's supposed to be. Now, the other thing about this that's very cool is, and actually it looks like my canvas is in 1920, so it doesn't matter too much in this particular case. But I can click right in the preview window and I can drag things around. So if I say go back to my shot layers property tab and I add one of those, and you'll recognize this list, it's the same list that pops up when you try to add one in your shot bin below. So again, consistency, it's easy. You don't need to worry about the 3 different buttons anymore of what type of category you're adding, and then add another plus button. I mean, we save you a ton of time here. You can quickly add one of the built-in titles that we have. Or if you have new blue, you can add a new blue title. Then we can, select any of the familiar library that you know. And I'm going to just select the ocean title here, which is familiar. And that's going to load right in. And you'll see that all the elements and layers of that popped right into my shot layers tab here. And so now I can see each of these as they go. I can even batch select all of them by holding my shift key and and clicking between. And now I can move them around and readjust them on screen together. Or I can click off of them here and select one and move it around individually. Okay. Now be careful with this. This is an update that's going to come, but for now, if you you can still use your undo key, which I'm doing right there. But if you try to do moving is fine. If you try to select all of them, that's not going to be a big deal. But if you try to scale them all at the same time, that has changed. We are going to fix that and make it the way it was, but there wasn't enough time to get it out by the release date. So if you try to scale them all at the same time, they're going to go all over the place because they're each going to get scaled individually. Moving them, no problem as a batch, but if you need to scale them, you need to scale them independently or just scale them all up, but you'll need to rearrange them. So I'll just show you that just so you know. So if we scale, they're all going to go in kind of start scaling on their own center points and their own layouts. So if I just want to make it a little bigger, then I've got to come back here and just individually arrange them. So I want to move this one up a little, and then this guy comes down and moves to its own position and so forth. Not a huge deal. It takes a little more time, obviously, but don't worry. We're on it. We'll fix that. But for now, be aware of that. Is one of the peculiarities of this new shot editor. Now, other things that are really cool about this, you can always, of course, go back and scale to fit. So you still have that button that you might have used a lot in Wirecast 6. Click on the particular element or just in the timeline here and, sorry, in the preview, and then hit scale to fit. And it should pop back into the correct position. Okay, moving through here, you've still got the mats. You have the opacity values. You've got X and Y rotation, and you've got crops and colors, and you've got this color adjustment filter, which is awesome. You can now up the contrast and actually, or the gamma of your broadcast, which is really cool, of any element in your sources, and a lot more stuff. I just don't have time to talk about it all, guys. I'm so sorry. It's such there's so many changes. I mean, when you think about it, the last version, major update, upgrade for Wirecast was released over a year and a half ago. So what you're seeing here is the product of many, many months of work and changes and updates. Those of you who are familiar with our game show product, which is really focused on the gaming market and for gamers, may have gotten some previews of what what you're seeing here. They're not the same. Game show is not designed to do the same types of broadcasts, so it's going to limit you more on destinations, that kind of stuff. This is more for professional broadcasters, but there are similarities because that was the way we could test some of these features quickly and get them out. So you will notice similarities, but other than that, if you haven't been paying attention to the game show product, then all this is new and it's all been building for many months. So yeah, I just can't get to it all. I'm sorry. We may need to do a what's new part 1 and part 2 webinars. We'll see. Okay. The other things that have changed here, you basically, the chroma key property is still its own tab. You'll be able to find that and turn it on or off as needed. Nothing too much there. You'll still find your transition build, so how things come in and how things go out when you transition them is still the same. And then you've got this other um, tab, and this is going to change the contextual depending on what type of source you have selected. So if you have, say, a solid color selected, then this properties tab is going to be very specific to the color. I can set the exact type of color here and the width and all of that. But you won't find these settings on, say, a title. So if I click on a title, you're going to see font, width, height, adjustment. You're going to find justification controls. You're going to find the type of font family and all of that stuff, and even the line wrap and so forth. And then this is also where you would enter the text. So if I wanted to write my name, then I enter that into this field right here. You cannot edit text on the preview window yet. You can move and reposition objects. You can select objects, but you cannot edit their properties other than the position. So I hope that's pretty clear. we again are working on that, and eventually you'll see this preview window become much more fully fleshed out as far as what you can do in it. But for now, just be aware that this preview window is really limited in terms of as just a selection tool or a repositioning tool. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so you can reposition. If you need to edit text, then do so in the text properties tab, or what you just might call the specific properties tab, because it's, for a text thing, it's the text properties tab. For solid color, it's the solid color properties. So you're just going to find that specific object's properties. Anything that doesn't relate to the shot layer properties or the audio or chroma key or transition. So keep that in mind. All right, let's go back to comments. Let's talk about some questions. I know I just talked about a lot right there, so I want to come back and check in with you guys and see if you had some questions about anything I just showed you. Hey Jeff, good to see you. Yeah, sorry I wasn't at ISTE this week either. We were on hand for the release here, but I hope you were able to check in at our booth there. Um, Matt, sounds like you're super excited. That's great. I'm glad you're liking what you're seeing. Let's see. Why is fade transition missing on the Windows version? I haven't checked this. You should have a dissolve transition on Windows. So the dissolve would be your fade. So check for that. That should definitely be in both Windows and Mac. If not, use the smooth transition, which is the default, and that's pretty close to a fade. It behaves like a fade in most cases, except when you're cutting between a shot of yourself and another shot, the same camera, same source, but in a different position. Then it's just going to animate the change. But other than that, the smooth transition works as a fade anytime you're cutting between an A and a B source. But if you cut between an A and an A or a B and a B, and there's any changes, the smooth won't fade it. It's just going to animate the differences. Manny, is there a reason why in Wirecast 6, remember position, even when not live, for a video is not checked, say, on layer 5? Well, this is going to get specific, I can tell. Let's see. Is there any reason why when it's not checked, when it's not live, say on layer 5, and now you go put a title on another layer, say layer 1, and make the title live on the video, layer 5 restarts. I would need to look at that and see if it's either an intended behavior or if it's a bug. So because you're talking about Wirecast 6, I would probably refer to 7 here. So we can investigate that in a second. Manny, let me come back to that because I want to, I need to play around with it just to see what's going on there. It's hard for me to visualize it from what you're talking about in your comment there. But give me a moment. We'll come back to that. Enlighten Audio. Oh, thanks. Enlighten Audio Visual says, let's give this post a boost. So hopefully more people can see it. Yeah, please share this on your timelines, share it on your groups, share it with people you think they use Wirecast, and we can hopefully help more people learn what's changed faster. Thanks. Can you swap the live preview windows over? Like, can you left to right, right to left? No, they stay. Preview's always on the left, live's always on the right. But if you write in a feature request, I'm sure they'll consider it. Just make a case for that. The number of characters in the description field output settings. Why is it so limited? Are you talking about in the output settings here? So this, like, why is it so limited? Or are you talking about for Facebook? What does Facebook limit? I believe Facebook limits to 275 characters or so. We'll need to check that. But I do notice that descriptions tend to get truncated based on when the post, if the post is in like a small format and then it gets expanded, then you can see the description more. But I think Facebook only has so many characters that it can display on a normal feed or homepage. I think that's what you're talking about. I don't think it's an us limitation. I think it's a Facebook limitation. However, that's a good suggestion. One thing we might do is have kind of like a marker that tells you, or just a note that says, um, you know, descriptions get cut, you know, or shortened after 20 characters or something. So at least you know that you should try to keep the main title kind of short, or the first sentence of the description short. So, um, good question, good suggestion. Mark Marcello Marcello in Wirecast 7 is to choose a custom encoding for transmission via Facebook Live. Is that possible? Not at the moment. Facebook just does 720 by 1280 by 720. They haven't opened it up to additional sizes, and I don't know if they will or not, but for now, that's your option. No problem, Denise. No worries. And let's see, is there a way to stream? This one comes from Ed. Is there a way to stream from one Wirecast machine to another? Perhaps a virtual camera out. So are you talking about two Wirecast machines? Are you talking about two computers just in general? There's a multicast out. You have other options here. If we can go back to my full screen, I'll just show that real fast. Under the output settings, you can add, say, the multicast or unicast options. So let me zoom in on that. These are RTP over UDP multicasting and unicast on a network. So if you have another computer that's just trying to watch on the same network and there's no blocks in the routers or firewalls and so forth in the subnet, then you should be able to watch these in, say, like a VLC player or something that can open a network stream. So you'll just choose this and you can do it that way. If you're trying to actually stream from one Wirecast machine to another Wirecast machine on the same network and capture that, probably the best way to do that, how would I do that? I'd probably do a server, like a Wowza server internally, and just do RTMP within the network. When we get NDI, then you won't even need to worry about that. You should be able to share NDI streams across a network, which is cool. And hopefully our output, all that's going to work together across a local network. If you are trying to share remotely from one Wirecast machine to another one in a different town or building, town, state, country, then you're going to need to stream that up to a server in the cloud, and then pull that stream back down into Wirecast from the server. So you could do that with something like a Wowza Cloud. You could do it with a service like Decast, I believe, can help you with that. I'm not sure. You should check with them. And you're not going to be able to do it with big guys like YouTube. Facebook's not going to, because you need to have access to the actual stream keys itself to do that. You have to have credentials to kind of get behind the scenes. So services like Wowza can do that. Things that run on Wowza, Akamai can do that. Anyone who's running on Akamai should be able to hand you access to pull those across countries or great distances. Okay, lots of good questions. I think what we'll do is we'll go another 10 or 15 minutes, a few more minutes here, and then we'll have to wrap up for today. But we will be back with more content. Maybe we should do a stream every day, huh? We'll see. Beverly's looking at me like, I don't think we can do that. All right, so I hope I caught all the ones that I missed. Okay, so Manny, that was you coming back with the specific question, the video check layer. So why don't we come back? I asked you to retype that question, which you did. So let's check that out. So let's go to my desktop. We're going to hopefully troubleshoot this real fast for you. So let's assume instead of layer 5, I'm going to put it on layer 3. But I have this video, this Art of Flight video, and I put it on layer 3. So you were saying remember position even when not live. So if we check on that, you can see in the clip properties, you can find the remember position even when not live. And you're wondering if it goes out of the screen and comes back in, why does it start from the beginning? Let's just make sure I got this. And you can put a title on another layer, stay in layer 1, and make the title live in the video, the layer 5, it restarts. Okay, so that's probably, I think I know the answer to this. It has nothing to do with your remember position even when not live. It probably has a lot more to do with begin playing when media becomes live, or always, which I think um, usually changes. Actually, no, that's not right, because that's just whether or not the media begins playing. It's the remember position is actually right. That's the one that plays from the beginning or not each time you take it live. So if we remember position and we play this clip, so I'm just gonna take it live here. I'm gonna move this a little larger so you can see. Okay, so we start playing the clip, and it comes in, and looks like we're just a few seconds in to the clip here, so that's no big deal. And then we create a title, which I did here, and I'm actually going to delete the shot. I'm actually going to just mute that. So now we have the two clips, and I've created the title, right? And I take it live. So in theory, this shouldn't reset from the beginning. The title should just come in and just on top of it, right? So then if we take the video off, and then put the video back on, it should resume right where it left off, which it did. That's what we wanted, right? Now if we uncheck that video, or uncheck that property, remember position when not live, and we take the video off again, now this should replay from the beginning, which it did, because we told Wirecast not to remember the position. So I'm not seeing a bug here. It's behaving the way I would expect it to behave. And so just be aware of that. Now, if you created a title inside the shot itself by, oops, hold on, cancel, by adding another title in here in the sources, rather than doing a title on a different layer, that's going to follow you've changed something about that shot. And so I actually don't know whether that's going to override the remember position, and Wirecast is just going to consider, okay, this is no longer just the art of, um, the clip. It's now a clip plus a title. It may override some of that. So test that and see if that's the behavior you're talking about. Let us know. But I think as far as just going on the multiple layers there, it's behaving exactly the way I would expect in 7 at least. But let me know if there's something different in 6. Okay, maybe a couple more questions, guys, and then we'll wrap it up for today. These two questions from Andre. Will Wirecast work with Mevo? And can we upload our own created lower third to Wirecast? So good questions, Andre. So the first is Mevo. Will Wirecast work with Mevo? I've never used Mevo. I don't know. I'm sorry. Check with Mevo. See if you can send them a. I'm assuming Mevo works with, say, so Mevo, for those of you who don't know, I believe is another. It's like maybe a web-based or online-based production uh, system, and I don't know much about it. I've never tried it, but if it accepts a webcam, you might try turning on the Wirecast virtual camera under the outputs. This is one of the best things. Wirecast has so many cool things, but one of the really cool things is this virtual camera. And if you start this, what it does is it takes your Wirecast feed and creates a virtual version of it on your computer. It basically tricks other programs into thinking that a webcam is connected. But it's actually your entire Wirecast workflow, all your titles, your graphics, and switching, and all that stuff. And so you can feed your Wirecast production into other software like that uses video, like Skype, for example, or Google Hangouts. Those are the examples I use all the time. Mevo might work just the same way. Another one that, gosh, there's so many out there, but there's Daily Motion. I think there's a few others that just kind of hook right into your webcam, and you can do live broadcasting on their platforms and sites. If you want to up your production value, use Wirecast behind the scenes and just feed in your virtual camera to their platforms, and now you can switch and do all this cool stuff and still use the platform that you want. rather than having to do an RTMP stream to, like we're doing to Facebook or something like that. So Andre, great question. I hope that answers your question as far as that goes. And the other one was, can you upload your own lower third to Wirecast? Yeah, create your own titles in Photoshop and bring them in as transparent images. Try to make the dimensions 1920 by 1080. You can make it a little bigger if you like, but don't go too big because that's just gonna make your system have to work harder. But yeah, absolutely, create your own titles, your own background. You could just do your own banners, lower third banners, and then use Wirecast built-in type tools to do it that way. There's a lot of different ways. You can use New Blue. You can bring in your own Photoshop stuff into New Blue and do animations on top of your titles, or the sky's the limit. So go for it. Okay, Hassan, you bought the Wirecast 6 Pro upgrade? Yeah, no worries, Andre. You brought the 6 Pro upgrade. Do you need to pay for additional fees to upgrade to 7? That depends, Hassan, on when you bought 6. So if you bought that upgrade in the last 30 days, then you should get a complimentary upgrade to 7 Pro. Because you've upgraded to 6 Pro in the last 30 days, you should be able to get 7 Pro for no cost. If you bought that upgrade before 30 days, with longer than 30 days ago, then you're outside of that complimentary upgrade, and you're going to need to pay a reduced fee to upgrade to 7 Pro. So it's not as much; it's like $295 or something like that. But you just pay that upgrade cost to get to 7. And 7's worth it. It's awesome. Okay. All sports with the possibility of independent ISO record for each input and to have replay. Does this mean that the replay will be multi-camera? Yes, it will. You can now do ISO replays for multiple cameras, just as long as your system can handle it and your hard drives can handle it. So just be aware that you need a lot of horsepower if you're going to be doing multiple camera replay systems. All right, you guys, I'm going to take one more question from Zeke. Oh, Zeke, you were talking about what Manny was talking about. So, okay, well, it looks like maybe you guys were talking about the same title. Maybe if you put inherent titles in this shot. It looks like, as far as if you're using titles on 7, then I'll check that out and I'll report it as a bug if it's a problem when creating titles in a shot, and then they overrule the clip preferences for playing or beginning from the live thing. So I'll check that out. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Okay, you guys, I think we're going to call it there. Oh, and Rob, you say you're excited for the Skype possibilities and mix minus simplified in 7. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. So the mix minus stuff is super cool. The audio mixing, I didn't talk about any of that. I'm sorry. We're definitely at over an hour now. So we got to call it for today. But we'll be back next week, same time, Pacific time, 2:30 here on the Facebook page. We'll upload this video to our YouTube channel in just a few moments, and you'll be able to see those Wirecast Tube on YouTube and our Facebook page here. And stay tuned for all the latest action on Wirecast 7. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. And then if you want to tweet at us, please tweet at us at WirecastLive, hashtag, or at Wirecast on Twitter. And then if you do have any questions or anything with your trial versions or doing anything, please go to telestream.net and contact our sales and support teams, and they can help you as well, or our social media teams. So we're on it, guys. Please keep streaming, keep using Wirecast, and I will see you next time. Signing off.